review number 6.
Okay, very good. Okay, so let's start. Stage 6, 458. Okay, so let's start with revision. Ready?
Okay,
Here we go.
ready.
If you could go wherever you like in the world, where would you go? If you could go wherever you like in the world, where'd you go? If I could go
If I could go
wherever I like
wherever I like
in the world,
in the world,
I'd go
I'd
to
like I'd go to
where?
Hawaii.
Hawaii. Very good. If you could meet whoever you wanted in the world, who would you prefer to meet? If you could meet whoever you wanted in the world, who would you prefer to meet? If I could meet
If I could meet
whoever I wanted
whoever I
in
wanted
the world,
in the world,
I'd prefer to meet
I prefer to meet Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt. Very good. Do you always tell the truth? Do you always tell the truth? Yes or no?
No,
I don't
I don't
always
always
tell
tell
the
the
truth.
truth.
Sometimes I tell
Sometimes
lies.
I tell lies
Why? Why? Because it's sometimes
because it's sometimes
necessary to tell lies
necessary to tell lies
in order not
in
to
order
be unpleasant.
not to be
Unpleasant.
unpleasant.
Very good. Do newspapers always tell the truth? Do newspapers always tell the truth? No.
No,
Newspapers
newspapers
don't always
don't
tell
always
the
tell
truth.
the truth.
Sometimes they tell
Sometimes
lies.
they tell lies.
Very good. Why do they sometimes tell lies? Why do they sometimes tell lies? They sometimes
They
tell
sometimes
lies because
tell lies
they
because
don't have the time
they don't have the time
to check everything.
to check everything.
Everything. Very good. What's the opposite of the verb to catch? What's the opposite of the verb to catch? The opposite
The
of
opposite
the verb to
of the
catch
verb to
is
catch
to miss.
if hmm,
Is
is
to
to
miss.
miss.
Very good. If I threw my pen at you to you, do you think you'd catch it or miss it? If I threw my pen to you, do you think you'd catch it or miss it? If you threw
If you threw
your pen to
your
me,
pen to
I
me,
think I'd
I
catch it.
think I'd catch it.
Very good. Are you in the habit of missing trains and buses? Are you in the habit of missing trains and buses? Yes or no?
Yes,
I'm in
I
the habit
sometimes I'm in the
of missing
habit
trains
of missing trains
and buses.
and buses
Very good. Why? Why? Because I always leave
because
everything
I always leave
to the last minute,
everything
to the
to the
last
last minute.
minute, and then have to hurry.
Then up to
Hurry.
hurry.
Very good. How long do you have to be away from home before you begin to miss your family and friends? How long do you have to be away from home before you begin to miss your family and friends? I have to be
I have to be
away from home
away from home
for about
for about
how long? 1 month, 2 months
a month
before I begin
before I begin
to miss my family
to miss my
and
family
friends.
and
And friends.
and friends.
Very good. Did you miss the last lesson? Did you miss the last lesson? Yes or no?
No, I
I didn't
didn't miss
miss the last
the
lesson.
last lesson.
Very good. Okay. Do you think that the union of all the countries in Europe will ever be possible? Do you think that a union of all the countries in Europe will ever be possible? Yes or no?
No,
I don't think
I
that
don't
a
think
union of all the
that.
countries, a union, one
I
more?
don't think.
No, I don't think
No, I don't think
that a union
that a
of
union
all the countries in
of
Europe
all the country in Europe
will ever be possible.
will ever be possible.
Very good. What is a trade union? What is a trade union? A trade union
A trade
is
union
an organization
is an organization
composed of workers
composed of workers
from a particular industry
from a particular industry.
It protects the workers
It protects the workers
and fight to improve
and fight to improve
their pay and conditions.
the pay, the
And conditions.
and conditions.
Very good. Are you in favor of trade unions? Are you in favor of trade unions? Yes or no?
No,
I am not in favor
I'm not in
of
favor
trade unions.
of trade unions.
Very good. What can we use rope for? What can we use rope for? We can use rope
We can use
for
rope
climbing mountains,
for climbing
pulling
mountains,
things, etc.
pulling things, etc.
Very good. What did you see if you climbed to the stairs to the top of your building? What did you see if you climbed the stairs to the top of your building? If I climbed the stairs
If I climbed stairs
to the top of my
to the
building,
top of my buildings,
I'd see.
I'd see other buildings.
Very good. Is it easy to climb to the top of the music industry and stay there? Is it easy to climb to the top of the music industry and stay there? No, it isn't
No,
easy
it isn't
to
easy
climb to the top
to climb to the top
of the music industry.
of the
Come on.
music
Of
industry,
one more. Of the music industry
of the music industry,
and stay there. It's
and stay there.
difficult.
It's difficult.
Very good. If you lost your keys, where would you look for them first? If you lost your keys, where would you look for them first? If I lost my
If I
keys,
lost my
I
keys,
would look for them
I would look for them
where? In my
in my pocket
purse. Very good.
first.
Where do people go when they are looking for justice? Where do people go when they are looking for justice? People go to
People
the law
go
courts
to the law court
when they are looking
when they are looking
for justice.
for justice.
Very good. Would you like the job of a judge? Would you like the job of a judge? Yes or no?
No,
I wouldn't like
I wouldn't
the
like
job of a
the
judge.
job of the judge.
Very good. How do we form verbs from certain adjectives or nouns? How do we form verbs from certain adjectives or nouns? We form verbs
We form verbs
from certain adjectives
from certain
or
adjective
nouns
or
by
noun
adding the letters
by
en.
adding the letter en.
Give me some examples. Give me some examples, please. Dark, darken.
Dark, darken.
Short, shorten.
Short, shorten.
What does the verb to darken mean? What does the verb to darken mean? The verb to
The verb
darken means
to darken means
to make darker
to make darker
or to get darker.
or to get dark.
If our trousers are too long, what must we do to them? If our trousers are too long, what must we do to them? If our trousers
If our
are
trousers
too long,
are too long,
we must shorten them.
we must shorten them.
Do the days lengthen or shorten as we go towards summer? Do the days lengthen or shorten as we go towards summer? The days lengthen
The days lengthen
as we go towards summer.
as we go towards summer.
Do you think sport can strengthen the friendship between different countries? Do you think sport can strengthen the friendship between different countries? Yes or no? Do you think sport can
Yes,
strengthen? Okay. Yes, I think
I think
sport can strengthen
sport can strengthen
the friendship between
the friendship
different
between
countries.
different countries.
Very good. How many syllables must an adjective or noun have in order for us to form a verb from it? How many syllables must an adjective or noun have in order for us to form a verb from it? An adjective or noun
And the adjective or
must
noun
have only
must have
one
only
syllable in
one
order for
syllable
us
in
to
order
form
for us
a verb from it.
to form a verb from it.
Can we form verbs from all adjectives and nouns of one syllable? Can we form verbs from all adjectives and nouns of one syllable? No, we can't form
No, we can't
verbs
form
from
verb
all adjectives
from all
and
adjectives
nouns
and
of one
nouns
syllable.
of one syllable.
Very good. Give me an example of a one syllable adjective from which we can't form a verb. Give me an example of a one syllable adjective from which we can't form a verb, please. An example of a one syllable adjective.
An example of one adjective syllable.
One syllable adjective
One syllable
from
adjective
which we can't
from which
form a
we
verb
can't form a verb
is small.
is small.
Very good. Give me a sentence with the word obvious. Give me a sentence with the word obvious in it, please. It is obvious
It is
from
obvious
which he says
from which
that
he
he is
said
not interested
that he is not
in the
interested
job.
in the job.
Do small children sometimes say they aren't tired when they obviously are? Do small children sometimes say they aren't tired when they obviously are? Yes, small
Yes,
children
small
sometimes
children
say they
sometimes say
aren't tired
they aren't
when
tired
they obviously
as
are.
they obviously are
Why? Why? Because they don't want
because
to go to
they
bed,
don't want
etc.
to go to bed, etc.
Very good. What is an ache? What is an ache? An ache is a
An ache
continuous
is an
physical pain.
continuous physical pain,
Physical pain,
physical pain
such as toothache,
such as toothache,
headache, stomach
headache,
ache, earache,
stomachache,
ear,
headache,
etc.
etc.
What might you get if you ate too much? What might you get if you ate too much? I might get stomach
I might
ache if
get
I ate
stomachache if I ate
too much.
too much.
Where should you go if you get toothache? Where should you go if you get toothache? I should go to
I
the
could
dentist.
to the dentist
If I get toothache,
if I get toothache.
what kind of things give you a headache? What kind of things give you a headache? The kind of things
The
that
kind of
give
things
me a
that
headache
give me
are
a
noise,
headache
too
are
much
noise,
work, hot weather,
much work, hot
etc.
weather, etc.
Wait, who was the last person to rule your country? Who was the last person to rule your country? Mr. Suga
Mr. Suga
was the last person
was the
to
last
rule
person
my country.
to rule my country.
Wait, do you understand the rules of football? Do you understand the rules of football? Yes or no?
Yes,
I understand
I
the
understand
rules of football.
the rule of football.
Do the rules of English grammar sometimes confuse you? Do the rules of English grammar sometimes confuse you? Yes, the rules
Yes,
of
the rules
English
of
grammar
English grammar
sometimes confuse me.
sometimes confuse me.
Do you find computers confusing? Do you find computers confusing? Yes or no?
Yes,
I find
I
computers
find
confusing.
computer confusing.
Wait, would you be confused if I suddenly walked out of the room for no reason and didn't come back? Would you be confused if I suddenly walked out of the room for no reason and didn't come back? Yes,
Yes,
I'd be confused if
I'd be
you
confused if
suddenly
you
walked out of the
suddenly
room
walk out
for
of the
no
room
reason and
for no
didn't come
reason
back.
and didn't come back.
Very good. What can we say instead of should? What can we say instead of should? We can say ought
You can say up
instead of should.
instead of should.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. I ought to call my dad
I would call my dad
because it's his
because
birthday. It's his birthday. When we borrow
he
money, ought we to pay it back as soon as possible? When we borrow money, ought we to pay it back as soon as possible? Yes. When we
yes,
borrow money,
when we borrow money,
we ought to pay it back
we ought to pay it back
as soon as possible.
as soon as possible.
Very good. What ought we to do before crossing the road? What ought we to do before crossing the road? We ought to
We
look
ought to
both ways,
look ways,
both ways
both
before
ways
crossing the road.
before crossing the road.
Very good. Do you think children ought to be allowed to go to bed whenever they want? Do you think children ought to be allowed to go to bed whenever they want? No, I don't
No,
think children
I don't think to let
children ought to be
children
allowed
Ought to be allowed
to go to bed whenever they
go to
want.
bed whenever they want.
Very good. Is the surface of this table rough? Is the surface of this table rough? No. The surface
No,
of
the
that
surface
table
of that table
isn't rough.
isn't
It's
rough.
smooth.
It's smooth.
Very good. When you travel by boat, do you prefer the sea to be rough? When you travel by boat, do you prefer the sea to be rough? No. When I travel by boat, no. Hello?
No.
When I travel by boat,
When I travel by boat,
I don't prefer
I don't
the
prefer
sea to be rough.
the sea to be rough.
I prefer it to be calm.
I prefer to be calm.
Why? Why? Because a rough sea
Rough
makes
sea
me feel seasick.
makes me seasick.
Feel seasick.
Feel seasick.
If someone tells you that they're feeling rough, what do they mean? If someone tells you that they're feeling rough, what do they mean? If someone tells me
If someone tells
that
me
they're feeling rough,
that feeling rough,
they mean they aren't
they
feeling
they
very
are
well.
feeling very well.
Roughly, how many people would you say there were in China? Roughly, how many people would you say there were in China? I'd say there
Okay,
were roughly
there are roughly
1 billion people in China.
1 million people in China.
Do you like rough weather? Do you like rough weather? Yes or no? No,
No, I
I
don't
don't
rough
like
weather.
rough weather. I prefer calm weather.
I prefer cold.
Which do you think is rougher sport one can play? Which do you think is the roughest sport one can play? I think maybe
I think
rugby
maybe
is the roughest
rugby
sport
the roughest sport
one can play.
I can play.
Very good. Okay, so that's the end of our revision. Let's have new work. Okay, repeat. Ground,
On
level,
level,
underground,
underground,
railway,
the railway,
ground floor,
ground floor,
grounds.
ground.
Very good. Okay, listen. By the word ground, we usually mean the surface of the land. For example, this building is built on the ground. Level can be used as a noun and an adjective. As a noun, it means one of the several floors at different heights in a building. For example, there are some shops in this town that are built below the level of the ground. As an adjective, it means not rising or falling or higher on one side, but even in all directions, horizontal or flat. For example, when a table is not level, we must put something on its legs. Underground can be both used as an adjective and a noun. As an adjective, underground means below the surface of the ground. For example, an underground car park or an underground railway. As a noun, underground means a system of trains that run below the ground in a large city. For example, the New York subway, Paris Metro, and London Underground. Railway is a noun. It is a system of tracks on which trains travel. For example, a railway station or railroad cars. Ground floor is a noun. It is the floor of a building that is at ground level. It is also called first floor. For example, there are shops on the ground floor of this building. Grounds mean the land around the building. For example, the grounds of some famous old buildings in my country are open to the public. Okay, let's practice. What do we usually mean by the word ground? What do we usually mean by the word ground? By the word ground,
That was
we
ground.
usually mean
Usually mean
the surface of the land.
surface is ground.
Are there any shops in your town built below the level of the ground? Are there any shops in your town built below the level of the ground? Yes or no?
Yes,
There are some shops
in short,
in my town
the
built
town
below the level
is below
of the
the
ground.
level of the ground.
Where? Where? in
in,
the stations.
in, in the station.
Very good. When a table is not level, what must we do? When a table is not level, what must we do? When a table is
The
not
table
level,
is not
we
level.
must put something
You must put something
under one of its
on the
legs.
one of its legs.
Has your town got an underground railway? Has your town got an underground railway? Yes or no?
Yes,
My town's got
the
an
town got
underground
an
railway.
underground radio.
What's on the ground floor of your building? What's on the ground floor of your building? There are some shops
Well, check
on the ground floor of my
the
building.
ground here in my building.
Where's the biggest football ground in your town? Where's the biggest football ground in your town? The biggest football
The
ground
best ground
in my town is
my town is
where? What football stadium?
focus again.
Very good. Are the grounds of some famous old buildings in your country open to the public? Are the grounds of some famous old buildings in your country open to the public? Yes, the grounds
Yes, ground.
of some famous old buildings
Something like old
in
buildings.
my country are
My
open to
country.
the public.
It is public.
Very good. Okay, next repeat. Educate.
Educate.
Educated.
Educated.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word educate is a verb. It means to teach. For example, parents start educating their children before they go to school. Educated is an adjective. It is having been well taught and learned a lot. For example, by an educated person, we mean somebody who has continued their studies to a high level. Okay, so let's practice. How can parents start educating their children before they go to school? How can parents start educating their children before they go to school? Parents can start
Parent can start
educating their children
the child
before they go to school
as they go to
by
school
teaching them to read
and teaching
and
them
write.
to read and write.
Very good. Okay, so we stop there for today, Nebu, but very good. Thank you very much.